so wild that they wrote this. Like I'm legitimately shocked.
Hello, happy Monday, and welcome back to the drama. Today we're talking about the GOAT, James Charles, a YouTuber that the Cosmopolitan said would like to.
All right, hold up. So first of all, this is oh my god. See, that's on. All right, so um, I'm just yeah. So all right. So yeah, Portal Prelude RTX just came out. They released it for the 4090 uh geeks or whatever. I don't have a 4090, but it's fun to play Portal. Glad they released the Portal Prelude RTX. So also apparently there's just people just love drama. So while I'm playing Portal, we're gonna look at Nick is Not Green. Um and this is gonna be this week in Zoomer drama. I'm gonna edit this. I'm recording. So I'm gonna turn my live streams into videos. I wanna make it work. I wanna make it work. This is gonna be fun. Alright. Yeah. So I want to stay current and I don't look at the news. And this is probably the best way for me to stay current is by, looking at what other people are looking at on YouTube and the internet and TikTok and everything. So while that's happening, we're gonna play. I'm gonna play Portal. I want to see how fast I can go through the whole series. All right.
This is actually so wild that they wrote this. Like
All right. So the first one, 6 days ago, James Charles' redemption arc is failing hard. I have no clue. Oh, I actually do know who James Charles is. I think he did like makeup or something, and he's gay, and that's all I know. That's all I know.
I'm legitimately shocked.
Hello, happy Monday, and welcome back to the drama. Today we're talking about the GOAT, James Charles, a YouTuber that the Cosmopolitan said would like to be uncanceled after there were multiple allegations of him talking to and sending pictures to underage fans.
Oh, hold up. What does that say? More than 2 years after, yeah, sent the Superstar Beauty YouTube. Wow, himself and his brand. That's crazy.
Over 2 years ago. Now James Charles is determined to have his redemption arc, and personally, I think it's pretty gross. The article is framed as a tell-all from James Charles, a sign that he is fully admitting his faults, that he's putting his cards on the table, and he's ready to move on from this huge mistake he made in his life. But in reality, this article by the Cosmopolitan almost comes off as like a parody of what it's trying to be. An internet star trying to repair his reputation while making it as obvious as it can be that he's just here to sell his new makeup line and come off as somewhat of a regular, normal, well-adjusted person. I went into this article expecting it to be rough because of the past couple years of James Charles being online and how the internet has reacted to it. I didn't really think we were going to come to any conclusion that was overall productive. Obviously, it's going to be productive in the sense that it's going to sell more of James' makeup, but in terms of actually admitting the shit he did wrong, I don't know. So yeah, I expected it to be rough, but I expected it to be a good, honest look at what James has done while being critical about the way that he now is representing himself as this new redeemed person who has changed from the past. During so many times in this article, I wasn't even sure myself if
just like people always say, you're everybody's capable of change, right? Yeah, that's crazy. Everybody's capable of change. Yo, shut up, robot. I don't even know what's going on right now. See, I'm so lost. I haven't even played Portal Prelude before. Yo, this song slaps. I don't care what anybody says. This song slaps harder than what's it called? The Kingdom Hearts song. Uh Simple and Clean. This slaps harder than Simple and Clean. Promise you it does. Love this song. Alright. Yeah, I mean, just like everybody says, you're capable of change, right? Also, we gotta change this key lines. I can't with the E for the I can't play with developer commentaries. No, not yet. Everybody's capable of change, all right? But you did do some feisty stuff, and it doesn't look good for you, my guy. And I don't know how much apologizing you've done, if any. So I don't know, man. It's looking kind of feisty for you, my
The
guy.
writer understood.
Then again, I have no clue really who this guy is. I just haven't really seen anything regarding anything positive from him. So, yeah, I feel like I would have seen that. What I have seen, other than, you know, him owning a makeup line, being a freaking zillionaire, and the other thing, he did some really creepy stuff with some kids, and that's never okay. That's never okay.
The kind of propaganda that she is making by making this article and putting it out. She goes from being self-aware about the irony of being canceled while also doing a Cosmopolitan magazine interview with James in his $7 million mansion. So I am ready to skim through this article with you and show you just how gross it really is. But in order to do that, I had to employ the help of Twitch superstar Hassan Piker. We're gonna be reading through the article with him while I pop in every once in a while to give you my thoughts on the whole thing. But before we do that, the channel is growing. We're literally so close to passing the main channel. You should subscribe, check out the channel, and check out He Said Us, the other channel where I follow up these videos with some other small uncanceled. He Said Us, article by the Cosmopolitan that I found right before I came here that was from 2 days ago. And it's called James Charles.
Starting an online store is easier than you think.
Christ.
Let me show you how to quickly open
I guess I
one
need
with
YouTube
Shopify.
Premium.
Wants to be uncanceled?
And I didn't read any of it because I was like, we have to read this. So this article is called James Charles Would Like to Be Uncanceled, Please. And it kind of comes from this angle of like, oh, James is willing to just look at his mistakes straight up and see what's wrong with them, and he's ready to move on with his life and redeem himself as a person who doesn't do that stuff.
Yeah, that could be all entirely true, right? That can be entirely true.
But as you'll see with this article continuing, it is anything but a real honest look at how James is trying to reclaim his fame, and it is more of a propaganda piece trying to get us to feel bad for someone that grew a lot over the past couple of years. And as we will recap in this article, the things that James got in trouble for was the fact that he was DMing and having conversations that were inappropriate with fans of his, some of which turned out to be
In February 2021, at age 21, Charles confronted in February 2021, at age 21, Charles confronted a career crisis he couldn't quickly apologize for or capitalize on. He was publicly accused of sending lewd photographs and inappropriate sexual messages to a then 16-year-old fan. Charles says he was misled into believing the boy was 18 and that he blocked him as soon as he learned the truth. He said, I've never been more disgusted in my life than when I found out that kid was 16 years old. Charles says, now I I was mortified, absolutely mortified. The fan did not return. Oh wow. Oh wow. That's crazy. I didn't know all that. That's pretty wild. All right, that's pretty wild. Bro, you can't be doing that. Oh, wait. Okay, so he was 21. Okay. All right. I mean, thought he was 18. You're 21. Okay. But like there are dead signs for like somebody that's like clearly in high school, right? Like you're still in high school. Like you're like why are you going after people in high school? That's so weird. Bro, you're like a million zillionaire. Why are you going after people in high school? That's so weird. Oh my god, it's that Hollywood shit, bro. It's so weird. Oh my god. Oh my god. All right, so I just got blasted. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Um. All right, shut up. First of all, second of all, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Underaged.
It's the year of our internet 2023, and as surely as the sun rises, an internet celebrity has an apology to make. So here I am sitting in James Charles' Encino mansion. That's where you go when you get canceled. Back to your Encino mansion next to like the fucking.
Go back to my mansion.
I had to do a lot of thinking. Like, okay, babe, this is your fault. No, you're not a pedophile. No, you're not a fucking groomer. No, you're not a predator. But you made a big mistake. If he says all of those three things, which is the reason why he got canceled, that is not him. Then what kind of learning and thinking did he do?
Whoa.
He's saying that when he
Things which is
go back to my mansion,
Hold
turned
up.
out to be underaged.
It's the year of our Encino next mansion. That's where you go when you get canceled. Back to your Encino. No, you're not mistake. No, you're.
Let's begin. I don't want to sit here and mope and whine and cry because nobody wants to hear it. That's what Charles says, and he's also sinking into a plush couch in his casual open living room. Well, I don't know why that they found that relevant to add, but okay. Uh, I had to do a lot of thinking. Like, okay, babe, this is your fault. No, you're not a. Yeah, no, you're not a groomer. No, you're not a. No, you're not a. But you made a big mistake. Okay. I don't. I don't. Okay. Okay. So hold up. I can get where this guy is coming from. I can. I can understand it. I mean, did he do this more than once? Because if this was one time, I mean, come on, like, I get it. You're 21, talking to you, like you're both like still young. I thought he was like 28, talking to an 18-year-old. Like, it's still weird, but like it's less weird that he was 21 and the dude was 18. And then it turns even more weird that the dude was 16. And it's still really weird that you're going after high school kids. So yeah, it's all the way weird. It's this yeah. But I don't know, I wouldn't say he's not any of those things that people are calling him. He did make a big mistake, unless this is habitual, I think.
You're not a fucking groomer. No, you're not a predator, but you made a big mistake. If he says all of those three things, which is the reason why he got canceled, that is not him, then what kind of learning and thinking did he do?
He's saying that when he texted those boys, it was not out of attraction because of them being underage. He just made a mistake. He messed up.
You know what his mistake was? Not busting out a fucking ukulele. At this point, you're likely familiar with the specific quid pro quo inherent in celebrity profiles like this. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this person is like breaking the fourth wall by being like, his publicist wanted us to write this really bad, so I'm gonna do it.
And so I'm going to talk about this a few times in this video, but a lot of what is said in this article comes off to me like it's always trying to be aware that things might not be as genuine as they can be, while also trying to justify why James might be doing this. And it does even explain in this article that it's kind of fishy that James Charles wants to have this redemption arc while also trying to sell his new makeup line and talk about how hard it has been for him to go through his cancellation. If that doesn't scream to you propaganda piece to make this guy look good in the public eye again,
Okay,
while
wait, hold on.
also explaining that to go through his that it's
wanted us to write this really bad, so I'm gonna do it.
And so I'm going to talk about this a few times in this video, but a lot of what is said in this article comes off to me like it's always trying to be aware that things might not be as genuine as they can be, while also trying to justify why James might be doing this. And it does even explain in this article that it's kind of fishy that James Charles wants to have this redemption arc while also trying to sell his new makeup line and talk about how hard it has been for him to go through his cancellation. If that doesn't scream to you propaganda piece to
I mean, if you're gonna be talking about, okay, and even still, I still get like, yo, you're, oh my god, I even still, I get, yo, you're selling makeup, right? You want to come out with this apology piece, XYZ, and you want to make a redemption. I still can get that. I still understand that. The timing is, it's pretty well timed, because I don't think it's propaganda necessarily, just because, you know, he wants to come out about whatever and say how much it's affected him, and he has something to sell at the same time. I mean, the man has to make money, right? I get that. But the fact that you're only talking about how hard it was for you, I feel like is the problem. Maybe if he wasn't so, I'm gonna say selfish, but yeah, maybe if he wasn't so uh selfish and just thought about, you know, the person, the boy that he was texting, I don't know, maybe the reaction would have been different from the public eye, but who knows, right? Who knows? Who knows? People probably, I don't know.
make this guy look good in the public eye again, while also explaining that he did hire a PR firm in order to make this article happen. It is the most obvious form of propaganda I have seen online in a long time, and you are going to see just how bad it gets.
I tried. Like, that's crazy. Dude hired a PR firm too just to create the article. Oh man. I mean, actually, you know what? He's maybe he's just not smart enough to do it on his own. He hasn't lost me yet. He hasn't lost me yet. And I still don't know anything about him.
Is to victimize James Charles rather than the people that he hurt in the first place.
Ostensibly Charles' new makeup line painted, but it's also Charles himself, a warier, acceptably contrite, still just a little extra Charles. After all, would a still ousted person be allowed to pose for a red carpet canvas of the People's Choice Award or chat amiably with paparazzi while out and about in Hollywood? Would a still banished person have hundreds of thousands of fans enthusiastically engaged with his YouTube beauty tutorials? Yeah, I mean, no, that's not.
Yeah, this is actually pretty interesting.
It's basically saying, like, he got away with doing the things that he was doing. Would a truly exiled person be 24 years old and living in a reportedly $7 million farmhouse that looks like a cross between the homes featured in the later season of Vanderpump Rules and any season, any and all iterations of the Kardashians, you know, black and white modern exteriors, hyper-organized interiors.
Painted, a solo venture 4 years in the making, launches in just a few weeks. People have speculated that I have partners or investors, which I don't know how that rumor got started, Charles said. This line is fully self-funded. Every single dollar that has gone into the brand has been from personal savings and checkings accounts. I have no investors, no partners, no billion-dollar backers behind me. This is the equivalent of saying that we should have voted for Mike Bloomberg to be the next president because he didn't take money from anyone besides his own pockets, but he's worth like billions of dollars. So of course he doesn't have to ask people for grassroots fundraising.
So why are we mad at him for that? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Michael Bloomberg did. Just FYI. I also don't know what he did. But yeah, he's saying, you know, he paid for it with his own money. And like I said, he's a zillionaire. So it is what it is. But yeah, I don't know why he felt the need to add that. It seems like an unnecessary comment to make on Charles's part, James's part, but yeah, I mean, he's not making this case any better for him.
When
I'm gonna be honest.
He can fund his presidential run on his own while
also, I'm completely stuck right now. What is happening? I can't get past this. Am I just dumb? What is happening right now? What is happening? I have to get up that way. Okay, so oh my god. Okay.
Also using it as this statement to be like, oh,
I
I'm
think I
fully
got it.
self-funded. I don't need to take money from you guys. And in the same way here, James looks at this whole thing and he goes, okay, if I was canceled, why can't I start this makeup line? If I have no partners, no one helping me out, I'm doing it all on my own. And my answer to that would be that money, having a lot of money shouldn't be the ticket to allowing you to do things that you want to do, despite the fact that you hurt people and the people who initially helped you out and that supported you do not trust you anymore. Whether or not James can afford all of the marketing and all of the expenses that come with starting a makeup brand, I don't really think it changes anything if he funded it himself.
There's a lot riding on the answer. Painted a solo venture for years in the making, launches in just a few weeks. I mean, this is literally so he can sell products, I think.
It's literally he's doing a Cosmopolitan interview about trying to not be canceled anymore as he's trying to promote a product. Like,
yeah.
It's so like, this is just baffling to me.
Corner of the internet, known for constant sniping, backstabbing, and hopelessly convoluted rivalries. The same lack of guile and perma-logged-on status that drew viewers to Charles also made him a magnet for drama. There he was, posting regular apologies for things like insensitive tweets about Africa and Ebola. Or asking Shawn Mendes to juggle me like that.
That's
okay,
crazy.
There's a range here, okay? Like,
Ebola and
one is just like, whatever, you know what I mean?
oh, I can't believe we're going to Africa today. No, shot. He tweeted, I can't believe we're going to Africa today. OMG, what if we get Ebola?
We're fine, we could have
No! Oh my god, we're going to Africa today. I can't. What if we get Ebola? Is crazy.
late last year.
Talking about E. coli.
Oh, that's actually kind of a banger.
That's really funny.
That's kind of a banger. If the tweet was a joke, it certainly was a weird one, but that didn't sway Charles from ardently defending his remarks. He initially blocked tweeters who called out the lunacy of his tone-deaf tweet. Several hours and likely several frantic emails from CoverGirl later, Charles removed the tweet and issued an apology, but stated in short that he fucked up. He also called Africa a country. Okay, that's awesome.
Okay, I'm not going to post a bullshit apology. I was told what to say, and that's not how an apology should work. Extremely sorry for my tweet. I feel like shit for saying it. I'm traveling to Africa today with a few friends for a school trip. What?
Because we all know very little about the country, but are eager to learn.
If I was James Charles, I wouldn't tweet it, but as a joke, as a set-up punchline, it's very funny.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly.
I thought we
That's why
gotten into Chipotle
it's like kind of well written as a joke, but his apology also makes it seem like maybe it wasn't a joke because like
he was like,
he
I'm
thought
not
Africa is a country.
Oh
It feels like in this article, a lot of the time, they try to pose James as someone who's young, making these mistakes, tweeting things that might be potentially offensive. But in the end, the Ebola joke wasn't the thing that got
Finally,
James
oh
canceled.
my
It was the fact that
god.
he kept
Yo, one time for the freaking getting over this, and I swear to God, if I fall, I'm going to be so mad. One time for getting over this. Now, how do I get past this?
responding to and having conversations with fans who wanted to be in a romantic sexual relationship with him. And even if they are adults, I think it's extremely inappropriate to be having that kind of conversation back and forth with fans of yours. I think it's a little bit odd.
So he did all this. This is like the allegation triggered more complaints against. In February 2021, at age 21, Charles confronted a career crisis he couldn't quickly apologize for or capitalize on. He was publicly accused of sending lewd photographs and inappropriate sexual messages to a then 16-year-old.
Photographs, too.
Lewd photographs and
Dude,
inappropriate
21.
sexual
21 to
messages.
16.
I've never been more disgusted in my life than when I found out that kid was 16 years old. Charles said
That's
now.
crazy.
I was mortified, absolutely mortified. Is that how that works?
How did he meet him?
The allegation.
That's what I said.
They were primarily disseminated. He was like, I kept getting so disgusted.
It was also with a fan, he said.
Yeah. I just kept getting more and more disgusted. The more I found out all of those minors I was sexting were minors.
What? Every one of them is a minor?
I
What
was
just
like,
happened?
it's like, damn it, I'm so disgusted.
Yo.
The allegation triggered more complaints. They were primarily disseminated from the form of TikToks filled with screenshots of flirtatious conversations Charles had allegedly conducted with a number of male fans. A few of the reported
number. And see, I was rooting for him so hard until I heard a number of male fans. Man, that's crazy. That's disgusting. bro.
The initial one were serious and claimed to detail inappropriate online interactions between Charles and minors. Other claims, including an incident where Charles allegedly called someone daddy, felt muddier. Almost all of them were eventually rounded up into viral Twitter threads by a controversial poster who keeps track of internet scandals, now under fire himself. Who is this? Yes, even the chronicling of this saga has been surreal and
Let's guess who it
convoluted.
is. Wait, a controversial poster who keeps track of internet scandals.
Okay, quick.
It could be Keemstar. It could be.
Oh, it's Def
I was gonna say it was gonna be Def
You
Noodles.
were
That was the name I was trying to come
No.
up with.
In the end, substantiated or not, multiple media reports indicated at least 15 boys and men. Yo, do you have no shame writing this article then?
15 mother, dude.
15. Well, I mean, they say boys and men, so I mean, okay, inappropriate behavior between 15 boys and men. Okay, you gotta exclude the men, right? Like, they're of age, you can't really include them. So it is what it is. I don't know. But the boys part is 100% like what is going on. That oh my God, that is so sad. That's just sad, man. That's so sad.
Accused Charles of inappropriate behavior. Charles says now about the breadth of the allegations, the source of where the list came from was not doing any sort of research, no fact checking. Some of the screenshots depicted consensual conversations between adults. He says others were completely fake and never even happened. Charles has never legally been charged with engaging inappropriately with a minor, let alone proven to have knowingly done so. Nevertheless, that April, Charles uploaded a 14-minute YouTube video titled Holding Myself Accountable, where he admitted to inadvertently exchanging messages with two 16-year-old boys he said he was led to believe were 18, and he apologized for his desperate behavior. Yeah, 15 was also the age of those boys.
Where can you find these people if you're not like
Yikes.
going on?
So before he was even charged with anything, he came out and apologized, which nobody advises to do because it's like you're admitting to something that it hasn't been proven. And I don't know, man. I guess it's just because of a guilty conscience or something. It had to be. I'm just saying.
Dude, ask Colin Ballinger.
15.
You know what I mean?
It's fans. That's the answer.
Yeah,
It is only
another
fans.
expert. No ukulele, by the way, in this apology. Another expert at finding 15-year-olds to fucking have inappropriate relations with. If a celebrity with tens of millions of followers came sliding into your DMs, would you respond? I probably would. Oh my God. What is this article is awful.
Whoa. If a celebrity with if a celebrity with tens of millions of followers came sliding into your DMs, would you respond? I probably would. Yo, that's crazy. That's wild to say. That's a wild take. That's a wildly inaccurate take. Well, actually, that's a wildly accurate take. That's a wildly accurate take. I'm not even gonna lie. That's
This
a wildly
article's
accurate.
worse than like the situation.
On the other side, I think this is like a sentence basically being like, there is a power imbalance here. Like if you got a DM from a celebrity, you're gonna respond to it, and whether or not.
What do I do here? I'm so stuck again. 1, 2, it says. So I just go back over there, I guess. But there's no like. Okay. Oh my God, who is that? Yo, you're that okay.
These kids reached out to James Charles on their own, or if he messaged them. Either way, it's like he had to accept or choose to send a message in order to make that happen.
It's pretty cool when you have like gorillions of dollars. You can just like hire the greatest PR team.
Yeah, to write a Cosmopolitan
To just like
article.
get a fucking Cosmo piece like this going where they're just like,
Who's gonna need more Tide? Everyone. Now there's 85% more Tide in every Power Pod.
you know,
I got
15
this.
boys and men came
I
out
got this.
saying that there was
I got
inappropriate misconduct, which even
Oh, shit.
included sending sex and nudes to minors, but also Some of them lied when they were minors and said they were 18. One of them at least did. One of them asked us for money. Ooh, that's creepy, right? That's scary. What if they were all lying?
So I find this line by James Charles very interesting. He denies he ever engaged in grooming, a practice defined by the anti-sexual violence organization RAINN as, quote, manipulative behaviors that an abuser uses to gain access to a potential victim, coerce them to agree to the abuse, then reduce the risk of being caught. James Charles continues, I feel like that word is a very
Wait, okay, so he said, oh, I absolutely did F up. But he denies ever engaging in grooming, a practice defined by the AS Violence Organization, or RAINN, as manipulative behaviors that an abuser uses to gain access to a potential victim, coerce them to agree to the abuse, and reduce the risk of being caught. Charles continues, I feel like that word is a very popular buzzword right now, especially in politics and stuff. But the actual meaning of it has been so misconstrued, referring to the first allegation against him. He adds, the conversation lasted for 1 hour. I don't know this person. I've never met this person. Nothing happened between me and this actual person. So to use that word is so categorically incorrect. I mean, isn't it though? Isn't it though? Did he groom these people? James Charles? Did he actually? That's what I'm saying. But that's not grooming, right? Yeah, I don't think that. I don't think he. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's not really grooming. I don't think he groomed these people.
popular buzzword right now is
He definitely inappropriately messaged them and was wildly inappropriately, uh, communicating with them. Wildly inappropriately communicating with them. But grooming, yeah, that's a bridge too far, I think.
especially in politics and stuff, but the actual meaning of it has been so misconstrued. Now, let me remind you people that when it comes to you doing bad things in your life, it's not the label that matters. It's the result of the action that you did and how it affected other people. It doesn't matter if the dictionary definition of grooming is incorrect when people call you out on it. It's about the actual action of talking to people that are fans of yours as an internet
But that's not
celebrity. It's not
grooming.
really about what the dictionary definition of it is and whether or not that is contributing to how bad James Charles has been affected by his cancellation. It's silly for me to hear them
Bro, how do I
explaining
get
that this
up
word
here?
has become a
That's what I'm
buzzword
trying to figure
that
out.
everyone is saying and trying to
Oh,
label
okay,
me
okay,
with,
okay.
and that's
Hold up.
just
I
not
got it,
true.
I got it,
I
I
don't
got
want
it.
to have this like social conversation over whether or not people are being too mean to you when you did this shit. I think you need to own up to these specific actions and not say,
Got it.
oh, well, people are calling me a groomer, and that's just not fair. All I did was send lewd photos to a 17-year-old. His basic take is that he
Okay.
can't be a groomer because he
All
didn't
I did
know
was
that
send
they
wild,
were underage.
or all I
He
did
didn't
was send
know that
photos
there
to a
was
17-year-old.
a
Crazy.
coerciveness to the whole thing.
I feel like the word is a very popular buzzword right now, especially in politics and stuff, but the actual meaning of it has been so misconstrued. Referring to the first allegation against him, he adds, this conversation lasted 1 hour. I don't know this person. I've never met this person. Nothing happened between me and this guy. This is glazing James Charles up.
And again, in this situation, saying that the conversation only lasted an hour is not necessary. Opening the gate to that kind of relationship in the first place is what's dangerous about it. If you open up that text and say that you just stopped after an hour, so it's fine, that only means that it goes further than that. You can't just say, oh, well, it didn't happen. I didn't actually talk to this person
Yeah.
for long enough for it to count as being inappropriate.
In the absence of hard evidence, hordes of commenters and bystanders glommed onto the idea that Charles was creepy, irresponsible at best. I wonder why they glommed onto that idea. Cosmopolitan, you literally are mentioning it in your article. His apology, one in a burgeoning and much
What do I
mocked genre
do
of
here?
YouTube influencer man Clubbles, was full-throated. It did nothing to quell the terror. This is furor. This is like,
Yeah, like the fact that they say in the article, in the absence of hard evidence, when there were definitely multiple conversations that James himself admitted to, I think it's pretty inappropriate to be like, oh, in the absence of all this evidence, there's nothing really for people to grab onto. People are still mad at James. Like, what does he have to do to be able to not be canceled by you guys?
I mean, what it is like basically their idea is in order for us to get James to back where he was before, where he's not seen as this like freak, we need to just drop it all and do an article that makes him
Go to the
seem
options
like, okay,
menu.
I'm not hiding anything, but let's have a conversation about it. But it's not working because you didn't just like text some boys. You sent suggestive shit to them. They're fans, and you were 21. That's crazy.
It's fucking insane to me that they wrote this article being like, yeah, sure, there's 15
Appropriate to be like, oh, in the absence of all this evidence, there's nothing really for people to grab onto. People are still mad at James. Like, what is admitted to? I think it's a pretty, well, it didn't happen. I didn't actually talk to this person for long enough for it to count as being inappropriate.
In the absence of hard evidence, hordes of commenters and bystanders glommed onto the idea that Charles was creepy, irresponsible at best. I wonder why they glommed onto that idea. Cosmopolitan, you literally are mentioning it in your article. His apology, one in a burgeoning and much mocked genre of YouTube influencer man culpables, was full-throated. It did nothing to quell the terror. This is furor. This is like...
Yeah, like the fact that they say in the article, in the absence of hard evidence, when there were definitely multiple conversations that James himself admitted to, I think it's pretty inappropriate to be like, oh, in the absence of all this evidence, there's nothing really for people to grab onto. People are still mad at James. Like, what does he have to do to be able to not be canceled by you guys?
I mean, what it is like basically their idea is in order for us to get James to back where he was before, where he's not seen as this like freak, we need to just drop it all and do an article that makes him seem like, okay, I'm not hiding anything, but let's have a conversation about it. But it's not working because you didn't just like text some boys. You sent suggestive shit to them. They're fans, and you were 21. That's crazy.
It's fucking insane to me that they wrote this article being like, yeah, sure, there's 15 documented allegations against James Charles from minors and men, but also, who's the real victim here? His YouTube page was demonetized. He did not return as the host of Instant Influencer. Charles' team says this was done at their own request after they saw Morph getting backlash for associating with Charles. One estimate put his total loss of income in the millions. Oh, dude, he is the real victim here.
Okay,
they're making it seem like he is the real fucking victim
it's
here.
a total loss in the sense of the millions, as in the money he could have made after getting in trouble with the shit he was doing. It's not like, oh, they took millions of dollars from him. It's, I got demonetized for my channel that I'm making millions and millions of dollars off a month. Because he sells makeup, which is a consumable product.
And then, of course, we continue on with the multiple quotes about James feeling horrible about the incident, saying that these were the past couple worst years of his life and that he just wants to move on with it. And it's not really fair that he has been hounded with all of these accusations constantly on the internet. Being someone who is outed as doing very inappropriate things that made people very uncomfortable online, it really bugs me how much this article really stresses the idea that James is someone who is deeply disturbed. I was gonna say disturbed. That sounds like he's like in a horror movie or something. This article, it's gross. It is a massive news publication showing the platform of someone who has done bad things in his career and has made people uncomfortable and upset by his actions. And they're saying, hey, does this guy deserve the hate? You know, maybe it's been 2 years and maybe you should cut him some slack and really lay off of him. But at the same time, you know, he did do some bad things.
Hey, we got through it. Hey, we got through it. Hey, we got through it. Even though they helped us. I don't know what that was about, but we got through it. Even though they helped us. Oops. 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 Sorry.
Weird that he's trying to make his reputation better after putting out a new makeup line.
I think it's inappropriate if it's like once or twice and really fucked up and bad. But 15, dog, like, I'm sorry. I think after 4, you're like, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah, that's what I was
doing.
I mean, after
fringe, like,
one,
on the margins, people
you say
who are
that.
going to be like insincere and are going to say, like, it's the internet. There's kids that are going to do dumbass shit. 15 is to the point where, like, when you already have 3 or 4 that are legitimate and proven, Why should I look at 15 and go, oh, the rest of them are probably just lying?
Treading a well-worn post-scandal path, Charles spent the next months mostly offline doing a lot of self-reflection and conferring with mental health professionals. And while a couple of months may seem like a laughably short time for a break, to Charles, having no stage felt like an endless punishment. I absolutely hated it, he says. I'm someone who likes to be busy at all
Having no
times.
stage
I love
is
filming. Having nothing to do
horrific.
drove me insane.
Wild.
Yeah, he's the real villain of the story.
Having nothing to do, even though he's like, I'm going to work on myself. And then he's like, I'm bored. I have nothing to do. I'm stuck in my Encino mansion all day.
And for me, if someone is coming on to an interview talking about them being forced to be offline for a little bit because of the things they've done, it usually isn't followed up with, oh, I was so bored. That time was really hard for me. I love being in front of the camera. I mean, he literally says, I am someone who likes to be busy at all times. I love filming. Having nothing to do drove me insane. Hey, man, you could have kept posting YouTube videos, you know? You're still famous. I don't know what part of this drove you insane. Were you waiting for people to be less upset about the things you did because you didn't address them properly in the first video? The initial apology video did so poorly in the first place, and it didn't take him offline or anything. As far as I know, I don't really follow James Charles that heavily, but it seems like he was still running around with the likes of Brent Rivera and the rest of his freaks.
With this situation, it was really scary because my coping mechanisms weren't coping. It was the first time I was ever like, oh fuck.
My coping mechanisms weren't coping.
This is not good. This is getting
Yeah,
a really
that's
fucking dark place. The fallout became deeply
Oh my
personal.
God,
His
that
younger
took me
brother, who
out.
works as a model in New York City, stopped talking to him because of the allegations. It's now been 2 years since they last spoke, Charles says.
See, like, why?
That was not enough for Cosmo to be like, maybe we shouldn't write this article. Like his own flesh and blood.
It's literally, that's the moment when you need to be like, okay, something deeper might be going on here that is causing someone who has who's known this dude for fucking 21 years.
This is probably the most insane article I've read in a while. This is actually so wild that they wrote this. Like I'm legitimately shocked.
A lot of self-reflection, except
When
at
did
the
they
same
even
time,
write this?
I had nothing to do, which drove me insane.
As the only out kid in gay school in a small town outside. Oh, here I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. The whole like gay people are groomers narrative, like tying a very real vitriolic anti-gay narrative to defend a dude who was doing grooming as a gay person.
Like so wild, dude.
That's an insane fucking thing.
There is
it's just kind of like grasping
a celebrity getting interviewed after doing disgusting things only to be showed off in this article as if he was this young troubled kid that couldn't really find any friends in a small town outside of Albany, New York. I don't give a I just care about the actions of the shit he did and the way he's trying to play it off as if he's allowed to act as if he's some kind of victim of the whole thing. It doesn't matter. Your actions were gross, and so people were upset with you, and that's why you're offline. There wasn't some magical wizard that banished you to jail because you made an teensy tiny mistake. You got caught and you had to deal with the consequences. Oh my gosh, I gotta finish this video. I'm sweaty. Look at me. I'm like glistening. I'm trying to... It's because I wanted to wear this cool sweater. It's a cool sweater.
Now they're going back to humanize him and talking about his like relationships. His biggest mistakes, he now thinks, were making himself too available, recklessly hitting on anyone he thought might be showing him interest.
My biggest mistake is I'm always too hard on myself. That's my biggest flaw.
Yeah, I'm too hard of a worker.
Yeah, like I shouldn't have opened myself up so much.
Yeah, his intention was never to prey on minors, he says. He tried to explain all this in holding myself accountable, but it just didn't come across right, he reflects. I've been f***ed over by men so many different times. At this point, I just want a fucking boyfriend. Somebody's gonna love me. He's gonna care for me. So a lot of times I go into just talking to somebody with rose-colored glasses, and that somebody happens to be underage, like in a lot of instances.
And also, just
who
because
amongst us
you got fucked over by exes in your past, it does not like open the doors for being able to talk to fans. With
just a little bit of pedophilia, only for an hour. He tells me previously he had accounts on Raya, Tinder, Hinge, and Bumble. And while he did go on dates with people he met there, he ultimately felt too exposed. Like, anyone he swiped right on was going to take screenshots of their conversation and brag to their friends about it. You know who doesn't brag to their friends about it? Children.
Exactly.
So that's why he was like, well, I won't be as exposed. You know. And
that's exactly it.
To rebuild his reputation. I know you know, and he knows. But And even though we've already established he's very good at his job, I have to tell you that his regret doesn't come across in person as the opportunistic artifice so many celebrities
Okay, I think I
begrudgingly
got it.
wade through. It's more that he just seems young.
Dude, to say that about someone who has sent messages
That's crazy.
to minor, that's the thing we're talking about in the article. I love this. This is my video on Monday.
Not that everyone in his position would have the luxury of being perceived as naive or guileless. This comeback would look a lot different if Charles were a physically beautiful white man, or not a physically beautiful white man. I sometimes wonder what I would do if I blew up in my professional life in a public self-immolating way. Well, you kind of did with this article, my man. He's more cautious now, although not so much that he's given up on the DM sliding completely. Dude, what?
No way.
No,
The
oh
next
no, no,
sentence-
no, wait,
Instead, he
what?
started requiring potential romantic interest to provide IDs before he'll engage.
Don't talk to people who are in your DMs if you're famous.
I'm a club bouncer at this point, he says, which even still hasn't stopped the occasional breach of his trust. Earlier this year, a TikToker used shared snippets of a flirtatious conversation he had with Charles, in which Charles outlines the requirements for a boyfriend. Charles also tells me he recently caught a 17-year-old trying to lie about his age by taking out a digit on his ID.
Dude, stop asking people to send IDs to you.
Yeah, for
No,
real. Like,
listen.
Bro, that doesn't look good. That's like
you-
It's
he
not
said
at
that
all.
because he thought that makes him look good. He's like, see?
He's like,
I caught one.
I make sure.
Why? If anything, this means he hasn't changed. Bro, stop. Stop
that's
DMing
crazy.
people
You gotta
that are
stop.
DMing you in your DMs
you
unless you like
completely lost me, and
know
I really tried.
verifiably.
I really tried, bro. Like, you can't be doing all that, man. Come on, bro. Like, for real? For real, dog? For real? This is what we're doing now? And then you want to, oh my God, you want to grasp at straws and say, like, oh, God, this just like unforgivable. Unforgivable.
If they are other celebrities, peers, maybe people you met out in the real world that you know how old they are, why the fuck are you doing this?
The fact that James Charles thinks that the solution to this problem is to ask for IDs before he gets DMs from fans, like there's nowhere in this article that touches harshly enough.
Hold up, did I just figure
on
this
the
out?
idea that James should just straight up not be talking to fans. It's not appropriate to have relationships or friendships or extended conversations with people who only know you by the content you make through a camera. It's okay to go and respond to fans
Got
who
him.
appreciate your work.
Got
or even have a
him.
short conversation about a
What
question someone
now?
asks you. But when it goes further than that and suddenly you're talking to someone behind closed doors in this way that comes off as
And sending them
weirdly
pictures of your
romantically
bod.
coercive, I think we have to have a serious conversation about what we actually think is the issue here, because it doesn't seem like
And if you
in this
should
article the
continue
Cosmopolitan
having
has
a
that much of an
platform.
issue with the fact that these people are fans of his and the fact that there is a very obvious imbalance in his messages, but they end up making this piece that is like all about the fact that there wasn't proper evidence that they may or may not have been minors. A lot of them didn't have proof, and now James Charles asks for IDs now, so it's okay.
Yeah.
No, it's
That's
not
wild.
okay.
Also, like, you're allowed to respond to, like, when I say don't talk to fans, I obviously mean, like, don't have extensive conversations with these people who look up to and watch your content. Like, of course, the reason why you have, like, request messages is to respond to people, but that's supposed to be if someone's like, hey, I like your makeup, you inspire me.
I'm
And then
done.
James can go, oh, thanks, I appreciate that.
I like your butthole. Can you show it to me?
But
Stop.
instead, that's how you respond.
More than anything, Charles seems focused on his goal, which is really to reclaim his spot in the cultural mainstream. I'll see a lot of people saying, oh my God, nothing even happened to him. He got away with his scot-free with no sort of repercussions. That is so far from the truth. It certainly wasn't an overnight thing where now I'm slaying again, but he's trying hard. Eventually, he hired a PR firm to help, which led to this article.
You
Yeah.
literally even went to a Cosmopolitan. You got
Yeah.
So I do want to bring up here that they say in the article that James Charles appeared at a Cosmopolitan party in LA after talking about how the cancellation prevented him from being able to go on red carpets and how his PR firm couldn't even get him at any events because he wasn't respected and he didn't have a good reputation on the internet anymore. But then they explain that he literally appeared at a Cosmopolitan party in LA, the same magazine that is deciding to put out this fucking propaganda piece on him disguised as an op-ed on this like disturbed man.
Whether his efforts will be rewarded remains to be seen. For his part, Charles seems to believe in absolution and not just for himself. I wonder why he didn't publicly post a screenshot of that purported apology note he got. Wasn't he mad? Didn't he want to give his haters at least one big fat "I told you so"? Possibly. That's crazy that like they're even saying, look how nice he is that he didn't actually mention it.
They said why wouldn't he if James Charles wasn't sorry?
His PR firm?
Why wouldn't
Okay,
he?
that was 2020. That is before anybody knew. Chill out. It's important that people be held accountable, but I think it's important that we allow people to grow and learn. The idea that somebody fucks up with their entire life and career and everything that they've ever worked for should be swept out from under their feet is just horrifying. These days, it feels like culture at large, for better or for worse, is haltingly reaching the same conclusion. After all, don't the medium canceled now walk among us? This fall, while you perhaps wear a
platform am I
James
supposed
Charles
to fall
painted
off of?
eyelid, you may find yourself baking out of Allison Roman's new cookbook,
All these canceled people
following
I've never heard
Tinks
of.
on your Instagram feed, or reading Caroline Calloway's memoir. Wait, what did these people do?
Yeah, I don't know who any of those people are.
Allison Roman's comments about Chrissy Teigen and Mary Kondo lit a fire. Here's why it's still burning.
And at the end of this article, we of course have a comparison from following James Charles online to following 3 different women who got in trouble in the past for saying problematic things online. As far as I know, at least 2 of those women had nothing to do with anything that had to do with underage people or fans. It just had to do with stuff they tweeted like in 2013 or something. And I think it's ridiculous that we can say, oh, these people just make mistakes and let's move on. Do any of you
Whoa.
have friends in real life like you do content creators where they just constantly have shit come out about them that shows that they suck? Because in real life, normal people don't have that weird like ego power thing, and this
No,
shit
they
doesn't
don't.
normally happen. We can't
No.
just pretend that because we're famous and because we are this person that has haters online, suddenly like we need to look at this with a little more forgiveness in our hearts. But if there was anyone ever in my fucking life who did the shit he did, they wouldn't be a part of my life anymore. Right? And it's like, why do we look at content creators as these people who, wow, like they're always just going to get canceled. Someone's going to come out with shit about them. It's going to rip away their whole career. Who did that happen
How do I
to?
get
Where they
past
unfairly had
this?
their whole career ripped from them, and now they're just off the internet, and the internet will not let them back on.
Who are these people? How many minors did they text? Was it 14? Some of her resurfaced posts, which were originally posted between 2012 and 2020, were fat-phobic and misogynistic.
One from 2012 said, Kim Kardashian is so fat, I don't know what to do with myself. Hashtag oops. Another from
What?
2013.
What the fuck is going on, dude?
You could be
That is
following Tinks
wild.
Brothers, you could be
People
following
are
James
on
Charles.
crack? Why would you make this comparison? This is like an absurd thing to compare to texting inappropriate lewd shit to 15 fans, some of which were minors, okay? Calm the fuck down. Are you on crack cocaine? Holy shit.
I am very tired of the idea that it is like a minefield out here in social media. Being a social media star is like a minefield because you could get canceled at any second. And while I do think there are several cases where the internet takes a case too far and something happens that was not justified, but in this case online, we can't look at this as a case of, oh, the internet is always going to be the internet, so we shouldn't actually look at creators with a critical eye. If someone has 10 million followers on Instagram and they're reaching out to these people who are claiming to be minors who feel uncomfortable by the shit he's sending them, why are we like, oh, let's look at James Charles' childhood. He grew up in a small town. I don't think every situation falls under that umbrella, but I think in this case with James Charles, this article sucks. It is sad to see that someone can be given that massive of a platform and also have the entire article written about how sad it is that they can't have a platform while releasing a new makeup line on your platform. So I don't know. I'm sweaty. I'm hot. Let me know what you think of this article. Thank you
sweaty
for
and
watching the
I'm hot.
video. Thank you to San.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. I'm not even gonna lie, he's not wrong. And to have, first of all, it's one thing to have like your PR firm. First of all, it's one thing to be texting one guy, one boy, one young man at the age of 18 and you're 21. But then it comes out that he's 16 and you're 21, and that turns into a whole different thing. And then it turns into 15 people that you're inappropriately messaging and sending things to that shouldn't be sent. Then it turns out that you hired a PR firm to basically meet ride you in a Cosmopolitan article where they're not holding you accountable to anything, yeah, it doesn't look good, buddy. Doesn't look good. That's not cool. Anyway, all right. So the
Hey
next
everyone,
one,
happy Wednesday. Welcome.
TikTok hates time blindness. Oh my god, I was watching this earlier at work, so yeah, it's interesting.
Welcome back to the drama. I just shot this video and halfway through spilled water
Watched, like,
into
half
my
of it.
PC and
That works.
everything shut down. So now we're restarting the video and let's do it. Today we're looking at another random civilian on TikTok who has brought mass attention onto themselves. Of course, not purposefully. But about a week ago, a TikTok with the title Workers' Rights was posted, and it now has 4.5 million views and has caused controversy around this country. Okay, let's watch it.
So I just got yelled at for asking a very reasonable question. So I'm applying to go somewhere, and I just wanted to know, are there accommodations for people who struggle with time blindness and being on time?
So
Yo,
I'm gonna
what? What
I'm
is
gonna stop the
time
video
blindness?
very quickly, just
First
because
of all,
I feel like a lot of
and
people
like I
are
said,
gonna be
I saw
confused off
this
the
part,
bat.
but
When
I'm
I recorded this
still.
video for the first time, I kind of let the whole thing play, but I feel
I swear I thought she said like I don't know what I thought she said, but I don't think it was time blindness.
like
Even though it does say that in the title, I just didn't look at that. I guess I don't know. I'm stupid.
it is worth it to at least get an idea of what's going on here. I'm sort of learning about this drama as I tell you, so hang on. So this girl is applying for what I assume would be a university. I'm assuming she's trying to apply to colleges. She's on the phone with someone from the college, and she asks the question,
Are there accommodations for people who struggle with time blindness and being on time? You know. And then the person I was with interrupted and acted like I was
I got
asking
one
something
shot.
else. And then when we were done, they actually started yelling at me and saying that accommodations for time blindness doesn't exist. And if you struggle with being on time, you'll never be able to get a job.
okay, so
I mean,
let's back up for a
she's
second.
not wrong.
Now, this
W
video, of course,
Mance,
blows up.
for real.
The big reason that it's blowing
What's
up
it
so
called?
much, of course, is because
W
there are a lot of people
interviewer.
making fun of her for using the term time blindness and being upset that a college wouldn't offer accommodations for time blindness. And so we will look at the comments. We'll see,
Let's
whoa,
go.
this lady has the same name as my mom. I found this article on time blindness written by my mom. What's up? So of course there's a lot
Go
of people who
green.
sort of scoff. They scoff at this video and they go, this girl wants accommodations for being late to work. And that's like the general consensus of most people, especially people who like aren't very online in the world of Zoomers who are neurodivergent. And I am a neurodivergent Zoomer. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 14. I've been medicated since then. And I am someone who has received special accommodations for my ADHD when I was in a university, which means I have the right to talk about the true take you should have on this opinion. There is no
That's right, Nick.
true take, okay? We'll get to it. I think there's goofy parts about this story. I think there's parts that we should touch on, but let's start with the time blindness thing. A lot of people are confused about what time blindness is. It sounds silly. I don't blame you. Let me
It
try
is
to
silly.
explain at least from
Time blindness is basically what, like, okay, I have ADHD, right? And it's like self-diagnosed. So before, yeah, I have ADHD. And a lot of the times I'll be doing something and I forget like what I'm what I initially was supposed to be doing. So I will like start cleaning randomly and all of a sudden I look into the fridge and I see that there's like water, the Brita needs to be refilled. So I start refilling it. And then as I'm at the sink, I see that there's dishes in the sink. So I'm like, all right, let me start doing these dishes. And then as I'm doing the dishes, I see that the drying towel needs to be cleaned. So then I put that in the washing machine. So then I constantly am like adding things on until I finally don't see anything that I can add on and I start working backwards. And then by the time I get done doing what I was doing in the first place, it's like hours have passed. And this person is, well, that's basically what time blindness is.
what I have read what this is. So time blindness is a pretty popular symptom of ADHD. It also exists pretty rarely in neurotypical people, but people with ADHD, of course, have been studied and proven to have a problem with the perception of time. It's really difficult for people who have this symptom to be able to tell how long they've been doing something for, how long they have left on a certain project. I mean, there's plenty of symptoms for it. Of course, this article, do your own research or whatever, but time blindness shows up in a bunch of different ways. Underestimating, overestimating how much time has passed, chronically missing deadlines or arriving late, even for things that you're excited about, difficulty making a realistic schedule or sticking to a schedule, constantly losing track of time, frequently feeling like time is slipping away. These are things that I think everyone experiences in small amounts, but for specific people, it is a much bigger problem. And it doesn't just necessarily boil down to someone being inconsiderate of others' times. That's never really the intention with people
I mean,
who
that's what it sure
have
sounds
symptoms
like,
of
to be
time
quite
blindness.
honest.
And I know you're starting to get bored, okay? I'm teaching you about science and stuff. But yeah,
Right.
basically the idea is that, you know, universities can give accommodations to people with disabilities or people who have specific needs that need to be met in order for them to be in the best environment they can be in to learn, I guess. So the only accommodations that I got when I was in college for my ADHD OCD was having more flexibility, choosing my schedule in school so I can be better organized, and I can have my classes right next to each other, so it's not like I have to go back and forth from being at home and going to school all day. And then I'd
True
also
that.
be offered things like extra time on tests or a quiet space if I need to take a test and I'm too distracted.
True
Those are
that.
the sort of things that colleges can help you out with.
Shout
if
out
you are
Sister
someone
Ann.
that
You're a
does
real
need
one.
help with schoolwork or attention or whatever it is that you might need. I'm starting to realize though that this original TikTok might be about a job. Originally I thought it was about a job, and then I'm like, oh, this is about a university because she was saying she was applying to go somewhere. But then the hashtags say hashtag workers, hashtag capitalism sucks, hashtag capitalism, hashtag the system is broken. So, okay, I'm getting a little scattered. Let's get back to the TikTok and then we'll talk about this.
And if you struggle with being on time, you'll never be able to get a job. You know, provided you're trying your absolute best to be there. And then they're like, your stupid generation wants to destroy the workplace.
So she originally says that she's in the room with another person who kind of cuts her off and asks a different question when she asks the question about the time blindness. And then she goes on to be like, oh, people in your generation, this and that, and says that the person yelled at her saying that she's never going to get a job if she can't, you know, manage her time correctly and just like be a normal
Which
person.
is very true.
But I did hear
Be a
from
normal
someone, and I
person.
don't know
No,
when this
it's
is going to come up.
very true. If you cannot handle your ADHD and are not getting a handle on it, yes, you're just being lazy. I'm gonna say it. You're being lazy. You're not taking care of yourself, and you're an adult going to college or looking for a job. You need to learn. You need to understand how things work. Nobody's gonna make accommodations for you because you have ADHD and can't make it to class on time or to work on time. Like, that's ridiculous.
I did hear that that person's her mom, and it does make a lot
W
more
mom.
sense that way, that this is the person's parent. This sounds like a very normal thing that parents would do, right? At least in like our generation, it's a whole thing of like parents struggling to understand the needs of people that understand that they can perform better or be a better student or an overall more helpful human being if there are certain accommodations that help them out with their disability. A lot of this TikTok is someone who is in a fight with their parent, and that doesn't mean that one of them is right and one of them's wrong.
It
But I
does.
feel like
The
it
mom is
changes a
right.
lot of things about how the story is perceived. I just don't think we should be making huge assumptions based off of what we see here. Let's watch the rest of the TikTok though.
And yeah, I think that a culture where workers are just cut off because they struggle with being on time, when there's other solutions that we can look to, I think that just anybody who thinks it's okay to just treat people like that, yeah, that culture needs to be dismantled. And then I asked that person, how can you feel good about yourself upholding this kind of system? And then to think, I'm entitled. No, if people think it's okay to treat others like this, that's entitlement.
If it wasn't for Grammarly Go, putting our website together would have taken so much longer. You'll truly be amazed.
Okay, so the argument dies down. I think probably best.
Yeah, I'm entitled to keep my job, and if you don't show up on time, right? If you don't show up on time, or if you don't show up to class on time, you either will fail or you'll lose a job. So yes, it is a sense of entitlement. Yes, you need to be here on time. If you're not, I'm not making accommodations for you. Now I got to make accommodations for everybody who just has time blindness. That doesn't make any sense. Now nobody's showing up. We're not making any money, and I look like a douche because I'm the one who allowed this to happen.
To leave it off
That's ridiculous.
of TikTok,
It's not happening.
but you know, that's
what did I
neither here nor there.
do?
Hindsight 2020. This video is posted and it blows up on TikTok, and
Stop.
everyone's just flaming this girl. You've got comments that say, "LOL, early to bed, early to rise. It's called adulting. Time blindness? Grow up, honey. Millions of others can do it. You aren't special or above anyone. Thanks for my little laugh of the day. Accommodations for time blindness." She responds, says that time blindness is a common part of ADHD. It's not a disability itself. The world is so cold that everyone lacks basic empathy. Just constant comments. Self-victimization will never lead to success. I think the other solution is taking responsibility for yourself. Genuinely thought this was satire. The TikTokers are coming after her today. And listen, while I understand how a situation on one hand can just something like this can look really funny for someone, like, oh, someone struggles at making it on time to places. Welcome to being a teenager.
And welcome to being an adult.
I get it. I think there are parts of this that come off as a little goofy to some people. If someone tells you, oh, I want accommodations because I struggle with perceiving time, with getting things done. It's really easy.
First of all, that was weird. Second of all, if you're needing accommodations because you're struggling getting things done on, okay, now I see why he was struggling. Okay, if you're having issues getting things done on time, that sounds like a skill issue, bro. Like, what are you doing in life? You're 18 years old and you came up with this excuse? I feel like this is just an excuse. This is an excuse. This is an excuse. This is a joke. That's what this is.
Easy for someone to turn around and be like, just use an alarm. And on one hand, sure.
Literally just use an alarm.
Infinite amount of resources when it comes to tools that can assist us when it comes to learning or working or socializing or whatever facet of life it may be. Of course, there's still a responsibility on yourself to try to manage that time the best you can, to take care of yourself.
Robbed me.
It's all self-care. It's all for you to be the best person you can be. With all of these, comments not crazy about it, there's a lot of people who have very valid questions, right? People are like, if you don't show up for your job, then someone else has to do that work for you. You can't work at a hospital.
What I was saying. And then if they don't want to show up, then what?
You didn't perceive time correctly, and now all of a sudden, this doctor has to do a heart surgery. But that's something that's on the extremes. For a lot of this, saying that you have time blindness or whatever term you want to use for it, there are real accommodations that can help with that aren't as crazy as people thinking that she's asking to just show up late to work whenever she wants, or push off deadlines as far as they can go. Now, in a term of like a job, there's only so much you can do because your workers have to be there on time, or else someone else has to do that work, or else the job doesn't get done. And depending on the job, this employee could cause the entire business to fail if they aren't there for their job. And so in a lot of ways,
that's what I was saying.
Kind of stuff, and they go, well, I've always had to show up to work on time. Why does anyone need accommodations for something that you should just be able to use an alarm for? And yeah, I get it. I think it's fair to at least ask that. I think it's fair to think that the whole time blindness thing is like silly and you're thinking about it a little too much. I don't know if that's completely fair. I think in a setting like university, it'd be very fair to ask for accommodations for time. And struggling with time in general is something that students could...
It's struggling with time at universities and asking for accommodations right then and there. You're setting them up for failure. That's when they're adults. They're 18 years old. You're starting your first job at 18 and going to school, right? Because you want to party. Unless you have like rich parents, then you could just ask them for money. Other than that, you need to work and you need to learn the concept of time and how to be on it. Period.
Could always use, and especially those who suffer with it extra. There are symptoms in ADHD that are harder to control. It's not really as simple as like just telling someone to focus. And of course, this is different when we're talking about something like time perception versus focus, but I still think it isn't the craziest thing I've ever heard of. It's not like this mind-blowing Zoomer terminology that's just destroying my brain. And again, I know there's a lot of people that watch stuff like this and they go, okay, we don't really need to post the video of you crying in the argument with your mom and this and that. I think really we should all not be a part of this. But it seems like TikTok took it onto themselves to really just not let up about this. Like, there are so many people who are like, if you can't be at your job at a certain time, just like plan for it beforehand. I have motivation
don't get the
deficiency.
job.
My boss has no empathy. And listen, I know I'm playing
I have
both sides here
motivation
because
deficiency.
I really am just kinda
My
like,
boss has
ugh,
no empathy.
like, who
It's
cares? Why are
crazy.
people just mad about it? But then on the other hand, I'm like, it's TikTok. Like, I don't know. You should have seen this coming. These people are just like, they're waiting to goof on somebody. I mean, look at me. I'm making a video about it. And this caused a lot of TikToks to be made like this one that were,
Fine to go somewhere, and I
kind of
just wanted to
goofing
know,
on
are
her.
there accommodations?
That person is upset about lack of accommodation for time blindness, which is essentially complaining about not being allowed to be late all the time.
And listen, I want to goof on someone as much as the next person.
Girl,
I
get
know
up
I'm
there.
being kind of lame in this video because everyone's being mean and I'm trying to be Mr. Nice Guy and look at both sides. But I do think at least we can say that it's a little bit in bad faith to say that the time blindness thing is essentially complaining about not being allowed to be late all the time. I would bet that that isn't really what she's asking for specifically. We don't even know the job she was applying for or what it was she was applying for in the first place. There for sure could be parts of the job that she is worried she will struggle with. Do I think that you're going to get the best response by asking for accommodations to time blindness? I don't think it's the most strategic way to go about getting help for something like that. But at the same time, I am looking at what people on the internet are saying, and most of my response is just like, can we just like lay off a little bit? Like, this is a kid who is going through a hard time. And
What do you mean
can't
hard
really,
time?
like-
No.
I don't know. Let's
No,
just
we
keep
cannot.
watching it though.
Lay
about
off.
not being allowed to be late all the time. So I want to share some accommodations that are readily available for people with time blindness.
So this is a clock. You probably have a few around your house. They actually make clocks you can wear on your body. It's called a watch. And if you're worried that you'll forget to check those clocks, there are also alarms.
And this is like the common joke. It's like, have you heard of a clock? Have you heard of like just planning ahead of things? And I do think that the person in the original TikTok could have explained her reasoning in a better way, as we'll come to see. But at the same time, I think that symptoms like this exist in more of a way where you're trying to complete a task and suddenly you get lost in something else and completely forget what you were trying to do in the first place. Of course, we can look at the kids and go, oh, look, you're lazy. You're just trying to do another thing to get yourself out of work. But I think it's pretty obvious that the person in the original video isn't trying to take advantage of this time blindness thing. It more seems like she's kind of struggling with being able to work and struggling with
Doesn't
figuring
look like
out
from this
the
Nick.
most
That's the L take.
advantageous way for her to get things done, and it doesn't really seem like anyone else is trying to help her out in that regard. And I know that's not really like the funny answer or whatever, but I also am like, guys, like we don't need people like this to just like dig their heels into someone who is like going like is just not understood. I think this is more something where we should look at the person making the video and say, okay, the original issue we're looking at is that this girl does not feel comfortable in whatever position she's applying
He wants
for
to get
because she
the
thinks
most-
that she might have problems
She wants to
with
get
her
the most
ADHD
amount of pay
that would
with the least
conflict
amount of
with
work.
that. And there are
right?
people who are
And
on the
who
other
can
side
blame
of
her
this
for that, but-
agreeing with a lot of what she's
I
saying.
mean-
So this is someone who is stitching. Is it this a stitch or a this is a duet? This is someone who's duetting the
God.
original video saying time blindness is real. Too many old and young bullies have stitched this creator to act like the very people she was talking about. It's not a generational thing or fixed by having an alarm clock, as I've seen many people say. I suspect there's also people who unknowingly suffer with it, that have gaslit themselves into submission, been bullied over it, and think they should get it together like they did. And I think a big reason why I went from thinking that this situation is pretty goofy and it's a classic online drama to suddenly feeling just kind of bad for her is because I kind of see myself in a lot of what she's saying as a younger person. I grew up all my life wondering why it didn't feel like my brain worked in the same process as those around me. I didn't have the
I
motivation
never
to do
did.
schoolwork.
So
and-
first of all, like I knew there was something up because like I overanalyzed stuff and there was a lot things that I noticed that I was doing that other people weren't doing. But I mean, and again, I know I can just apply this to me only, and experiences may vary. But I'm just saying, I don't know, man. I figured that out at an early age, and I didn't even get help. I didn't get help or anything, right? Because I didn't know what the hell was going on. I just thought, they just taught us like, hey, everybody's different. It's all good, right? It's all good. So I just live with it until now, and I'm figuring out, well, maybe I do have some issues, right? But I mean, I think it's a bit too late because I've already found out solutions for the issues. It's called grow up.
And even if I did, it was really tough for me to actually hit deadlines and work in a consistent way, and it's still something I struggle with now. A big reason why I make videos every single day is because if I'm able to focus in these small amounts of time and sprint my way through my job, then I can actually get things done, and there aren't a bunch of little unfinished tasks in my head where it feels like I have to complete 1/5 of a video every single day. That is an accommodation I set for myself because I know it helps me more with the work that I'm doing, and that a regular work environment, like a 9-to-5 job, would not be as well suited for someone like me. I was told my whole life to just focus, like it was the whole thing of just being like, if you keep spacing out in class and you aren't learning anything at school and you literally aren't retaining information in your brain, why don't you just try to focus a little bit more, huh?
Yeah, that's terrible.
Maybe if you do it in colored pencils, it'll work better. Maybe if you get an app on your phone that helps you with your schedule. We're talking about a psychological disorder. I don't know. I just feel like the internet is a little bit better than this, than to just like, I don't know. I get why people would think that this is goofy, confusing, whatever. I honestly was kind of like, thought it was funny when I first watched it. And, there's still people who are trying to respond in good faith. I don't know. I'm trying to open my mind to that. It's hard because you can set alarms. And I feel like everyone is putting her issue under this umbrella of like, I sleep in and I'm gonna show up to work late. I am absolutely not saying
that's exactly what I think.
Every single job needs to implement like accommodations for people who struggle with being on time. In a lot of ways, I think that most jobs don't really need to accommodate for things like that because it's not necessary with the actual task that needs to be done. There are a million different ways that your brain can psychologically affect the way that you complete like everyday tasks in general, And I see a lot of confusing comments like this, and we'll look into it, whatever. But it's like, she admitted she doesn't even have ADHD. It was her mom yelling at her for trying to ask her to go to trade school. Someone says she wasn't applying for a job. She and her mom were booking a cruise, apparently. Her mom yelled at her. She lied and we fell for it.
This is hurting my brain.
Listen, that's my, personal opinion about it. Let's
see
what she followed up with, because I'm interested to see where people go with this. I don't know. Like, I wanted to join in on something that I thought was going to be funny, but the more I look at this, it just feels like dogpiling, and it's the same kind of stuff that parents have been telling kids forever about their mental health. I think we need to give a little bit more space to young people who are struggling to figure out their identity and the way that they function, and doing all that while meeting the most amount of people
fine.
they will really ever meet in their life. It's
but you can
a lot
show up
to
to work
throw
on time.
Someone. I feel like boiling this down to just, this teenager doesn't want to work, it feels kind of like reductive from what a lot of people have been trying to say online about mental health. It feels like, I don't know, it's so boomery. And listen, I'll say the same take I said earlier in the video. Sure, I think there are parts that seem funny to people when they watch back the original video, but I do think that this is like a case of a lot of people being intentionally ignorant to try to make fun of someone just because everyone's dogpiling on her. I'm not necessarily saying she's completely in the...
I think it's mostly because she's literally saying that she has time blindness and cannot go to class on time or cannot go to work on time, and there should be accommodations made for her. I think that's why people are making fun of her, because I think it's a term that there's a term black people call CP time. Yeah. And everybody knows that, black people just show up late. A lot of black people just show up late. It is what it is. I mean, I do not ever. I'm kidding. Sometimes I do, but like, For the most part, I don't, because I know there's a stigma against it, and not necessarily that it's even a bad stigma. It's just like I don't want to be that guy that's showing up late because he's on CP time. You know what I mean? Just like you shouldn't really be embracing your time blindness. You should be finding out solutions on how to get better at not being a fucking loser, to be quite honest.
Right, but I do think it's kind of sad that this is the response rather than people being open and honest about the way that someone is feeling, maybe. And maybe I'm being nicer about this story than I have been about people in the past, and I think, you know,
You are,
I'm not
for
always going to
real.
have the correct initial reaction to something, and I don't blame other people for reacting certain ways to the original video. I'm not trying to like shame everyone who's watching this, but like, I don't know, calm down is all I gotta say. Okay, here's her first response to everything.
When people ask me how does it feel being the time blindness girl and have everybody bashing you constantly on Twitter and Instagram, and all I could say is it's a testament of what the United States has become.
Oh
And
my
we hear
God.
about algorithms, political radicalization, and how the internet is influencing humans, and we think, oh, okay.
Not the algorithm.
But then when it happens to you, you see how big of a problem it is. Because when we can no longer have a civil discussion about a video with very little context, it makes you wonder, is there even a future for our nation, and what future is there to fight for?
Nothing.
No, okay, I can
Absolutely
already
nothing.
see.
There's
It's
nothing
like
to
I'm
fight
playing
for
this
if
game.
they're not gonna let you show up to work on time because you have time blindness, or have any accommodations for you, or at least a plan B, at on call plan B for, you know, whenever you want to show up to work late, or I don't even know if you're showing up to university. I guess late. God, what is our food doing to our youth? Holy crap! She looks my age. Jeez. How old is she? She looks old enough to know the difference. She looks old enough to know how to work an alarm clock. I'm gonna be real with you. That's what
Game where
this
it's
is
like,
giving.
I don't know, it's like every time I try to criticize something she says, I kind of turn to the rest of TikTok and realize that they're already being way too mean. So there's nothing
How are they
more
being
that
too
I really
mean?
should say. Now,
There's not
this says
any more that
political
you should
polarization is
say.
more of a threat than we could ever know.
Oh, but there's some
and
stuff
she
that you
kind of
can
makes
say that'll be
the
funny and
claim
relevant.
that capitalism as a structure leads to this kind of hate online and this kind of wall that people put up to stop them from having real conversations about things. And I think this whole like drama or whatever is more of a symptom of conflicts online than it is a symptom of Zoomers thinking that they're like disabled or whatever and they need to stop victimizing themselves. And she does say without context there, which is true. Of course, she's the one that posted that video and left out a lot of the context that she thinks is necessary for the conversation. But at the same time, most people post a video not expecting it to get like 5 million views and all of a sudden have everyone dogpiling
So then why
on them
post it?
without even knowing like actually what happened, what was said, what she's applying to, what specific accommodations she wants to have. It seriously just feels like we are thrown like a 2-sentence argument and we're supposed to have this entire online debate over it, when this is something that needs like way more nuance and like thought and care put into it than a couple TikToks and a million comments. You have comments saying stop trying to victimize yourself, stop trying to be oppressed, there's real disabilities that need accommodations for. Being late is not a disability. Very little context. The context was you wanting accommodations for being late to work. I have time blindness, so I set alarms for everything. I don't expect someone to do the work of 2 people because I didn't have enough self-discipline.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly,
if you
bro.
think you can show up
That's
late,
what I'm saying.
You're just affecting someone else at your job who has to deal with your downfalls. And I think that argument is kind of assuming a lot. We literally know nothing
What is it assuming?
about the position that she's applying for. We know nothing about what she's getting done.
So?
About whether
What
or not
difference
this
does
is
that make?
something that could have flexibility on time if it is something
What
that she
difference does
struggles
that
with.
make?
There are jobs out there to fit people's needs all around the world, and of course we need to be more accessible to people as a whole, but that's really not like how our country works. And as long as there are able-bodied workers who are willing to fill that spot, then they're not going to hire someone who has a disability or has a disorder or a problem or some psychological thing that prevents them from being able to do the work they want to get done. I just think all of these people need to get offline. Like, it's too much.
A future for our nation, and what future is there to fight for? Because arousing mass amounts of hate, judging people, making mass assumptions, and being stuck in a cognitive loop without even knowing it, and then doing exactly what the algorithms want is seen as normal. But you know what? It doesn't have to be.
So the main takeaway I'm getting from this is that political polarization and capitalism has caused people to fall in these echo chambers where they think that something is a little bit irregular, and then they see everyone else commenting on how that thing is irregular, and suddenly they're a part of the swarm that is hounding this person. And of course, like, this is a very real thing. I think that what she says holds value. I think in this case, it is a situation where you fell into the wrong algorithm full of people who don't really respect being open to that kind of terminology or whatever. And although obviously I see what the struggle would be in employers hiring someone who already is telling them that they have time management issues, but I don't really feel like that is the argument that's being made here. I think the argument that's being made here is basically that the people who are attacking her are really only doing so because they're caught in this cognitive loop that our society has put on them to cause something like this to happen. Listen, I don't know, I'm tired of this. It's just like, I don't know, I'm too tired to to debate this anymore.
It doesn't make any sense, bro. It doesn't.
I thought it was gonna be funny. It just seems like
I'm gonna try this one more
everyone
time.
is just, it's like the internet. There's one of those days where I'm just watching internet fights and I'm like, this is just depressing. I get where these people
It's
are
not
coming
really
from.
that
I'm
depressing.
not
It's
saying
kind of
anyone in
funny.
this story is really inherently a bad person, but I do think that, like, this is just a gross side of TikTok that doesn't need to exist. It's not really fun. It's just sort of like the next main character that's saying shit because she doesn't feel understood, and it's, I don't know, it's sad. So this is the last video. Let's watch it.
Once upon a time, I thought that political polarization and social media algorithms radicalizing us wasn't as big of a deal. That was before I started trending online and became the target for mass amounts of hate.
Oh my god. See, and that's what I'm talking about. Just
the way that I haven't before.
Before
And you
I
know what?
started
Political
trending
polarization used to
online.
be one of the top issues in the United States.
I think there might be a little
Oh
bit
my god, what is
too
up
much
with
of
this
that is being boiled down
sensitivity?
to this, like, bigger picture of political radicalization and political polarization or whatever. But I don't know, I don't really think that, like, telling the people who are making fun of you that they are just like a pawn in the online debate circle of people who believe this one thing and believe this other thing, and it's just like very broad umbrella topics that have, you know, nuance and need conversation. And I don't really think that the best way to teach this girl about the world is to just bully her, like, unrelentlessly for, like,
I think
days.
so.
I don't
I
know. I
think
guess
so.
that's all I have to say about that. Like,
I wouldn't say
it's-
bully.
I,
I
don't know.
wouldn't say
There's funnier
bully.
stuff that has
You
happened on
shouldn't bully
TikTok. I just feel like
anybody.
this
I
is, like,
really don't think you should bully her. But
kind of icky. And that's not to
she
say
needs
that
a
there
wake-up
aren't people
call.
out
And
there
if it
who
was
in
from
the
her
future
mom,
I will make fun of for thinking
like,
that
for
they
real.
are ignorant or thinking that they are fighting the wrong fight or whatever. And I don't know. I'll worry about that when I get there. Okay? Stop worrying about me. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think. I think this is an interesting conversation to have. You could have this conversation forever. I didn't really even dive into my specific, like, beliefs on every facet of it. I guess my overall thesis for the video is that the internet was too mean on this one, and we need to, like, relax, because everyone was way too mad when they heard someone who is most likely younger than them upset about a big change that is happening in their life that they think they might struggle with. And if you're at home and you feel like you're a student or a worker who wants to do things, who wants to complete tasks, and intrinsically knows that they want to have a specific job, but they can't
I don't
seem
give up on
to
for
get it
a
all
minute.
done, or they seem to not be able to manage their time correctly. If you struggle to be able to do something that it seems like every other person is able to do, make sure you get yourself checked.
All right. Thank you, Nick, for the self-help talk. Thank you. Anyway, time blindness. It's not a thing. It's not real. It's not real. It's an excuse. That's what it is. It's an excuse for people to act like they have a complex disorder when we all really have the same disorder, and we just need to figure out how to live with it and function and be high functioning. Be a high functioning individual with our disorder. That's what we need to do. We don't need to make excuses or accommodations. We need to figure this stuff out ourselves. You can get help, but you're figuring it out yourself, right? You're figuring out how to fix yourself by getting help. And there's nothing wrong with getting help because you can't do everything on your own. So there's nothing wrong with getting help. But when you start making excuses and accommodations instead of getting help, that's when there's an issue. All right, so this game is way so hard, bro, so hard. I'm gonna have to put a pause on this. It's 10 o'clock. It's 10:20. Probably gonna look through a run through of how to finish this level, but yeah, we'll come back.